story time about a reading that I could have ended up in a ditch dead over. So pre Facebook, pre Insta, there was a thing called MySpace. Yes, that was a long time ago. And I somehow met this biker guy named Marty on MySpace a long time ago. Have no idea how I met him. I wasn't dating, so it wasn't that way. He had no idea what I did. At some point, he invited me to go on a motorcycle ride with him up in the mountains, which I did. Stupid me. Didn't tell anybody where I was going or who I was going with. This pre GPS on our phones. So I drive a few cities over. We have a nice drive up in the mountains, beautiful fall day. And we pull over so that he can have a cigarette. Now, I want you to picture this big tattooed biker guy, super nice, but very physically intimidating to look at, right? So we're pulled over. He's got a cigarette. I'm sitting on the ground, and I suddenly realize that he has a dead daughter who really wants to talk to him. And now I'm faced with a dilemma. Do I tell this perfect stranger who is literally my ride home, hours away from where I live, and risk being left there or disappeared, possibly? Or do I just try to ignore her? And she's so insistent and she's so sweet. So I take the plunge and say, "Did you happen to lose a daughter?" And he's kind of shocked and he gets this guarded look on his face and says, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, this is going to sound crazy because, that's how I start most of my conversations. This is going to sound crazy and I hope I'm not overstepping, but," and then I talked to him for the next 10 or 15 minutes. I don't remember the specifics of it, but when I finally looked at him, because I refused to look at him, I looked at him and he was sitting there, cigarette in hand, burned completely down to the butt, with tears just streaming. And over the rest of our day, I learned that he had had a teenage daughter who had died a few years before, when he had been out drinking one night with some friends and she had called him for a ride home. And because he was drunk, he didn't answer the phone. She was hit by a car and killed on her way home, and he never forgave himself. He hadn't touched alcohol since then, but he still was so wrapped and consumed by the grief and the blame that he had put on himself for that, that he wasn't able to move forward with his life, and he was super unhappy. We stayed friends, but it was one of those weird situations where the guides lined everything up so that someone could get the message that they needed from their daughter. So I really hope that he was able to find a way to move forward and heal.